Hello and welcome to the International Daily Roundup by People's Dispatch, where we bring you major news developments from across the world. Our headlines. Southern Mexico hit by an earthquake of 7.4 magnitude. Sudanese Professionals Association calls for mass protests to correct the revolution. Outrage across Palestine over the killing of PLO leader's nephew by Israeli forces. Textile workers at an H&M supplier in India protest delayed wages. And US activists and lawyers criticize Trump's visa-free order. We begin with a powerful earthquake of magnitude 7.4 that struck southern Mexico on the morning of June 23rd. At least 6 people died due to the collapse of buildings and accidents in the state of Oaxaca, which was the epicenter of the earthquake. The US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA) issued a tsunami warning for the Pacific coasts of Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras after the earthquake. Hundreds of buildings were damaged and at least a dozen people were injured. Churches, bridges, and highways also suffered damage during the quake. Thousands of citizens remained outside their homes for hours after the quake due to aftershocks. Over 145 aftershocks were reported by noon, which were felt hundreds of miles away in several states. They triggered seismic alarms in the capital Mexico City, sending the residents onto the streets in panic. The National Seismological Service reported that 22 million people in the center and south of the country perceived the earthquake with greater intensity at 11:45 a.m. Quakes of magnitude over 7 are major earthquakes capable of widespread and heavy damage. Mexico is one of the world's most seismically active countries, located in the intersection of 3 tectonic plates. Mexico City is especially prone to earthquakes because it is situated on top of an ancient lake bed. In 2017, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that struck central Mexico killed 355 people in the capital and surrounding states. In our next story, the peace agreement to end civil wars in Sudan remains elusive, as the government and armed rebel forces yet again missed a deadline, which was on June 20th. The delay is brewing, leading to widespread discontent among those who mobilized against the dictatorship of Omar al-Bashir. The spokesperson of the government's delegation, Mohammad al-Taytaishi, said on Monday that the talks were in the final stages. Most of the complex issues had been resolved. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the negotiations are currently taking place over video conferencing. Taishi added that direct negotiations will soon resume in South Sudan's capital, Juba. The peace process that began in Juba in October last year, following the formation of the transitional government, has seen multiple delays due to differences between the parties involved. The biggest breakthrough in the negotiations so far came after armed rebel groups represented by the Sudanese Revolutionary Front agreed to the eventual dissolution of its forces. The SRF also agreed to integrate its members into the National Armed Forces, but differences remain as to when this will happen. The transitional government has demanded that this process should begin immediately after the signing of a peace agreement, while the SRF wants reforms in the military first. With discontent over these failures brewing across the country, thousands are expected to take to the streets on June 30th at the call of the Sudanese Professionals Association, or the SPA. The SPA has called on Sudanese people to correct the revolution. Among the crucial demands raised by protesters will be the speedy conclusion of the negotiations and the formation of the Legislative Council. In our next story, Israeli soldiers fatally shot a Palestinian man at a military checkpoint in the occupied West Bank on Tuesday. Ahmad Mustafa Erakat was shot on the day of his sister's wedding, which he was supposed to attend later. 27-year-old Erakat is the nephew of Saeb Erakat, Secretary General of the PLO's Executive Committee. According to his cousin, US-based Palestinian lawyer and activist Noura Erakat, he was left bleeding on the ground for more than an hour and a half. This was corroborated in a video reportedly taken after the shooting. In the video, Ahmad can be seen lying on the ground bleeding profusely, while Israeli soldiers continue to walk by him without offering any help. Ahmad's family said that he was on his way to pick up his mother and sister from a beauty salon to bring them back home for his sister's wedding. While on his way, he accidentally hit his car on a curb near a military checkpoint between Bethlehem and Abu Dis, where the Erakat family live. In a Facebook post, Ahmad's aunt wrote that he stepped out to check the damage. The Israeli soldiers at the checkpoint straight away shot him dead, later claiming that he was allegedly trying to ram his car into some female soldiers, a claim that Ahmad's family strongly denies. The director of the Palestinian Red Crescent Society later told reporters that Israeli soldiers prevented Palestinian medics from coming to the aid of Ahmad. Family members have also said that Israeli officials had refused to hand over his body initially. On June 23rd, hundreds of garment workers staged a protest outside the Euro clothing factory in the Indian city of Bangalore. The workers were demanding payment of pending wages, which the company had stopped after the multinational retail brand H&M cancelled its orders. Workers also demanded an end to illegal layoffs that they were subjected to in the city. Workers accused the Swedish multinational of maintaining double standards. The protesters said that the company made a profit of $1.8 billion last year. However, when it came to wages, Workers were only paid $152 a month, which comes to around $5 a day. Workers, especially women, have also complained of being subjected to abusive working conditions by the company. A number of international trade union groups have extended their support to the workers for the sudden factory closures and sustained refusal to pay for past work. And finally, the recent visa freeze by the Donald Trump administration in the US has been widely criticized by immigrant rights activists and lawyers. In a statement, the National Immigration Forum decried the recent presidential order as an attempt to divide communities. On Monday, President Donald Trump signed an executive order suspending a variety of immigration visas up until the end of the year. The move effectively expands a previous 60-day limited visa halt imposed in April during the coronavirus pandemic, and it extends it to virtually all forms of work visas, with very few exceptions to those involved in food processing, agriculture, and national security. Representatives from the administration have told the media that close to 525,000 jobs will supposedly be cleared up for US citizens. The US is currently facing its biggest unemployment crisis since the Great Depression because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Over 15 million workers have suffered job loss or work loss since February, and the unemployment rate is estimated to be anywhere between 13% to 17%. Of these, 6.3 million are deemed to have exited the labor market. Officials in the Trump administration and Trump himself have been pushing for stricter immigration controls. The move has been strongly opposed by tech industry bosses too, who greatly depend on cheaper and a more skilled pool of foreign professionals. The order will also put thousands of researchers and foreign students, especially those under study abroad and work abroad programs, in a limbo. That's all we have in this episode of the International Daily Roundup. To know more about these stories, visit our website peoplesdispatch.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for watching.
Cantar que vamos a triunfar, avanza ya.